Welcome to Michigan in Focus, powered by the Center Square and a production of America's Talking Network. I'm Scott McClallen, a Michigan reporter. To support great podcasts like this one, please donate by clicking the link in the show description. We are recording this podcast on January 26, 2023, and joining me today is managing editor Tom Gantert. We're going to talk about some policies pushed by Governor Gretchen Whitmer in last night's State of the State address. We're going to talk about Michigan education being ranked 33rd in the nation, and end with talking about the East Point mayor. So first off, Tom, did you watch the governor's State of the State address last night?
I did, and I read all the stories on it.
Awesome. So one thing that Governor Gretchen Whitmer said that would make a real difference to Michiganders was cost-free pre-K to 4-year-olds. Some proponents in that space said that the policy would offer pre-K to roughly 110,000 4-year-olds. So what is your take on this?
You know, the Democrats have attempted in Michigan to, what's it called, to have children in the system, in the public school system from 4 to, 20? I mean, that was the goal, is that, you enter at 4 and then you go to, you're out at, whenever you graduate from college, So this has been something that's been talked about for a long time. I guess my take on it is what's missing from a lot of the media coverage of it, and is how much is this going to cost to take 4-year-olds and enter them into a preschool. I'll read you so. This is from the Detroit Free Press, and it was today. It goes, what does it cost? And then the article states, one of the plan's features is cost savings for Michigan families.
So it must be free then, right?
Right. Whitmer's offer says the plan will save people $10,000 a year in education costs for preschool, while also allowing more children to enter preschool programs. Yeah, as we know, it's not free. But that's what's missing from a lot of the coverage right now, is that there's no, how much is it going to cost? Do
you know what that $10,000 number is referring to of cost savings?
No.
Me either.
I will tell you this. It's very expensive to have your child watched during, school time. So, during the summertime, my grandchild will be put into a YMCA program. And that's very expensive for my son to do that. So, I just would like to know how much it's going to cost. And I haven't looked into that, but, I looked at 3 or 4 or 5, 6 media stories that were published. Not one of them acted like this was going to be an expense, like savings for parents. Sure. If you just look at one side of the ledger, but there's going to be teachers hired. There's going to be employees hired. There's going to be pension plans that are going to be triggered by this. So I guess that's what's missing from this whole discussion right now is what is the cost going to be?
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I'm not even sure how this would be paid for through the state. I'm not sure if lawmakers would just give the Department of Education more money and kind of earmark it for this purpose. I did reach out, but they have not gotten back to me yet. So I wrote on a report from a scholarship education group called Scholaroo, which ranked Michigan's public school system 33rd in the nation. The rankings measured school quality, student safety, and student success across 43 indicators. And Michigan scored a 68. That's 19 in student success, 38 for student safety, and 41 for school quality. However, Michigan was beaten out by its neighboring states. Indiana was ranked 18th. Illinois was ranked 19th. Wisconsin was ranked 21st. And hate to see it, Ohio was ranked 22nd. So just getting beat up by Ohio.
I think when you look at any of these rankings in education, Michigan, however they do it, Michigan is always towards the bottom of the pack, not doing very well. And I find that interesting for one reason, and that is funding. These mediocre results, subpar results are coming when Michigan's funding for K-12 public schools is at an all-time high. So, let's take a year, 2018-19, which was the last year for the pandemic, right? The K-12 funding for Michigan public schools was $14.8 billion. Okay. That includes federal money. So this include total funding altogether. So in 2018, right before the pandemic, K-12 schools were getting $14.8 billion. Since then, okay, this has been the annual funding for schools. It went from $14.8 billion to $16 billion to $21.7 billion, then down to $17 billion, and now $19.6 billion. So it's post-pandemic funding for schools has increased dramatically. And the only reason it went down a little bit was because the insane amount of federal funding couldn't be sustained. To give people, listeners, an idea, 2018-19, federal government gave K-12 schools $1.7 billion. Okay. In 2020-21, it went up to $7.89 billion. So there was a lot more federal money coming in, and there still is. But you're not seeing the results from in terms of education assessments. Mm-hmm. So I guess that was the thing, is like the money's there, the results aren't.
I guess we might have to wait a few years to see the effect of this massive amount of money being spent on education.
This was something the unions were complaining about for years, is that schools were underfunded, and now they're not. So, in terms of accountability, there's not a lot of accountability there in terms of, what are we getting for this extra money?
All right, we can move on to our last story. I wrote this about the East Point mayor. So some background. At a September 6th meeting, East Point Mayor Monique Owens shouted down residents who criticized her during public comment, saying that they were, quote, assaulting her. Now, flashback to last Tuesday's meeting, and the same mayor spent 15 minutes airing her grievances against the public, and Ms. Owens blamed city residents for rising crime. She specifically complained that at a previous meeting, her daughter heard a member of the public criticizing her. Ms. Owens said, "You can never say the mayor disappointed you. You all disappoint me." So the city had agreed to a preliminary injunction that prohibits Ms. Owens from shouting down criticism during public comment, but still Owens continued to criticize the public. She said, "That's why the crime comes to the city, because they're watching how you don't respect your own mayor or your own police department, how you're trying to sue your own community."
And I see this on so many levels, and that is, there's a lot of people who think, for all sorts of reasons, publicity, money, the benefits that come with the job, think that they'd like to do a job and take a job in the public sector, running for mayor, running for city council, and don't understand what it entails. Aren't ready for the being in the public spotlight. I think this is a perfect example of that. She's the mayor of East Point, does not seem to understand what the job is. That she's running a city. You're going to get criticized. Everybody, especially in today's world where the criticism is so easy to do on Facebook and stuff,
especially
like
with social media.
But yeah, and if she got triggered because her daughter heard someone criticizing her, I would say she's not cut out for a job in the public sector, especially in something as high profile as a mayor.
I don't think that criticism directly equates to disrespect. I think you can criticize someone but still respect them.
Right. And the other thing is that in terms of, I don't know, have you been following what's happening in my public school district?
No. What's that?
Okay. Jackson Public Schools has the has a member of the school board who is being criticized. She's part of the DEI staff, and she's a school board member who said that whiteness is evil.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and it's been all over the thing. And, I followed the story only because I live in the Jackson. To me, it's the same thing. It's like she got in trouble because she posted a whole bunch of tweets and didn't realize that, as a private citizen, no one would really care. She said that. But when you're running a school board in the city of Jackson, and you're on the school board and you make decisions that impact white people, you can't just say white people are evil. And she's now doubled down on it, and is, standing by, because she also said what one of her tweets was that a gentleman, a black gentleman, had posted on Twitter, I'm out on the trails, captioned this tweet. And she said, basically, it's not the animals the wild animals you have to worry about. It's the white people, and it's embarrassing. Because that's not the way to address that issue. I'm sure I lived in Jackson my whole life. I'm sure that African Americans have legitimate beef about, racism and things that have gone on and probably still go on and do go on in the city. That's not the way to address it. But this is somebody who doesn't understand, the burden of responsibility when you become a leader in a taxpayer supported position, and same thing. I mean, it's just like, it's almost like you should offer a class on just the basics of how to deal with being in the public spotlight if you're going to take a job in terms of running for mayor, school board, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess if you don't want your social media posts to be ridiculed, then you probably shouldn't run for public office.
And if you don't want to, and if you don't want your decisions on how you handle other people's money, which is what's happening when you're a mayor, then don't run for public office. The East Point thing is just like, I don't think that's going to go away because she just doesn't get it.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. That's all the time we have for this week on Michigan in Focus. I want to thank Tom for joining me today. Make sure to subscribe to Michigan in Focus wherever you get your podcasts. We will be back next week.